right, hello, wine-drinking people. We are back. Man, I had so much to drink yesterday. We had to do 3 shoots today, man. 2 on the what I drank yesterday section. So we had a great tasting in the store last night. We don't want to overlook this Gems portfolio from Southern Wine and Spirits that my good buddy Jimmy Mansbach put together. And he's passed away a few years ago. And it's great to see that Robert Barnes and Janice Chen have kept things going here. Many of these producers, some of the original producers that Jimmy sourced. And he was kind of like... he was on the back roads finding these small producers that were on the cutting edge of quality. And today we had 6 producers. I don't know. Thanks, Johnny I, for stepping in at the last minute with some Solani family wines, which were outstanding. And, we'll start with Jonata Estate. This is a property in the San Ynez Valley. And they're making some very good wines, a couple of entry-level wines under this pairings label, and then their top-level wines under the Jonata. And these are mostly blends. You have a couple of Pinots here. My favorite wine last night was the Pinot Noir Santa Rita Hills 2005. I love Pinot Noirs with a nice savory finish. They can be big, and this wine was big. All these wines are big. They're fairly alcoholic. They're press-friendly wines. And that's not a bad thing that you make wines that the press likes. I think it's nice to get recognized by your peers. But, these are sometimes some of these wines were a little big for me. They seemed a little bit awkward, a little bit alcoholic, borderline, 15.5%, a little bit spicy on the finish. But, hey, that's what people like today, So who am I to say, these wines are a little over the top? Did I say that? No, I didn't say that. Anyways, the Pairings Pinot, my favorite wine in this lineup. The Todos also was excellent. That's a wine that we do have in the shop, a Syrah Cabernet blend, and really big, really juicy, but still fairly balanced. Lovely peppery note on the finish there. And the Pairings White and the Pairings Red also really nice and a little more restrained, a little more on the elegant side. So the entry-level wines from there, I don't know if they're that much far off from the $100 wines in this lineup. Other than the $100 wines just hit you over the head, man, with that fruit and the oak. Just really big, monstrous wines. And but are they balanced? I guess you could make a case. They're still balanced. They still got good freshness on the finish. We had Amapola here, which that's Richard Arrowwood's new venture. And these wines were very good. They didn't have the Syrah listed on there, but that was my favorite wine from the lineup last night. And this Syrah just had lovely, ripe, delicious black plum and black cherry fruit. Very forward notes of black spice. Rich with lots of fruit on the palate, but still very elegant and refined on the finish. Somewhat reminiscent of that Sara Lee Syrah that Richard Arrowwood used to make that was so good. All right, next up, let's see. We had Pali Wine Company with Gary White. And Pali Wine Company, a hot producer, small boutique, single vineyard Pinot Noirs. The Riviera blend, however, has been our go-to $20 Pinot Noir in the store. This 2008, lovely, even though it is kind of big, 14.5+% alcohol, lovely black raspberry, cherry fruit to it, lovely exotic spice. It still has some nice freshness on the finish and nice balance, and you cannot beat this wine for $20 a bottle and great freshness. Hey, the Kargasaki, the Shea Vineyard, and the Fiddlesticks, really nice, quite a bit larger in size, and also double to triple the price of the entry-level wine. Daedelous. This is a winery that, man, we've been out of sync with Daedelous for a few years, but they make outstanding wines. Very impressed with Pam Walden. I got to talk with her quite a bit. She was one of the founding partners of this project, and she's now going to be making her own wine next year. '07 is a vintage to me that's somewhat troubled in Oregon, and Pam explained to me, hey, man, you just don't get these wines. And I don't like when people say you don't get these wines because I get a lot of wines. And you know what? Maybe they, after tasting them and going back and tasting the other big wines, man, I started to like these Daedelous more and more because they're much more drinkable. I love wines that end with a savory finish. And these wines are light in color, so they're somewhat a little bit deceiving, but they had a lot of flavor to them. And they had balance. And one of the things that Pam mentioned that I always look for is that these wines are better after they're open the second day. And they're still good the third and fourth day they're open. So, hey, maybe I'm wrong about '07. Maybe I just don't understand this vintage, but I'm trying to, all right? I'm working on it. And the '07 Daedelouses will be in the store. Some of the better '07 Willamette Valley wines that I have had. Excellent work. All right, next up, Dutton Goldfield with John Schultz. And John brought a few extra wines, too. Thank you very much, John. We didn't get them all on the sheet here. But the Dutton Ranch '07 Chardonnay and '07 Pinot were my favorite. I mean, for balance and for finesse, these wines, not as big as the other wines, and sometimes not as big as good in my book. So, hey, they're not as big as far as price goes either. So that's a good thing. All right, then Schwega. All right, Schwager is a winery that we have had in the store for several vintages now. I visited this property. It's up there on Spring Mountain. Andy Schwager and his family, really nice people. Hey, he planted the Paloma Vineyard. That's right across the street from him. That's the one that got Wine of the Year for their Merlot. I know Andy's probably a little pissed because his Merlots never got Wine of the Year, but one of my favorite Merlots from California. And we actually, one of the few stores that actually have that wine. We ordered it in special, the 2005 vintage. Sorry it wasn't here last night, but hey, anybody that was at the tasting that came to taste the Schwager Merlot, I'll open a bottle for you the next time you come in the store, right? The Sauvignon Blanc, really fresh and clean. No oak with that, 100% stainless. And then the Spring Mountain Cabernet, all about the terroir of Spring Mountain. Love wines, mountain wines from Napa. They tend to be a little more refined and elegant, even though they're a little bigger in size. To me, they've got better freshness and not quite as sweet as some of the other wines on the table. I don't want to say anything about Solani family. Johnny I is a good friend, and we appreciate you coming. These wines were a bit sweet to me. They're a little fruity. They even taste like they may have had residual sugar in them, which, hey, I don't want to say that the one person that doesn't like wine and red wine in the room love these wines. I don't want to say that she drinks white Zinfandel and love them, because that may be even a little more embarrassing, but they're good wines. To me, they're just a little bit over the top in terms of their fruit. And that seems to be what a lot of people like today. Big and fruity wines. And I don't want to call Mr. Solani big and fruity because he owns casinos, man. He may come after me. But I love the packaging on his top wine. It looks kind of like a cigar, the bottle motif. Just beautiful packaging. And the wines are very good. And Selby up next, another Johnny I wine. And, these wines are very good. The Bobcat Zinfandel, a little big for me, though. 17% alcohol. Man, that's a date rape wine right there, I'll tell you. But the Pinot Noir was kind of balanced and fruity and very soft. I really like that one. Some great stuff. Thanks very much, everyone who helped out last night with the tasting, with our Gems event. That's what I had to drink last night. I'm your host, Andrew Lampazone for the Wine Watch, signing off, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.